Man, let's talk about Mr. McMahon, a Netflix docuseries that takes a deep dive into one of the most controversial, polarizing figures in sports entertainment history. Vince McMahon, the man himself who ran the WWE empire with an iron fist, this series promises to peel back the curtain on the most powerful man in professional wrestling, and boy, does it deliver. Sort of. I'm here to talk about it. My name's Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday, so let's jump in. So first of all, let's just talk about all the good stuff that the docuseries has. The production value of this series is fantastic. Netflix really knows how to make their docs look polished. And here, with the mix of archive footage, interviews, and some reenactments to craft the narrative, you can tell they spend a lot of time researching and digging into WWE archives, which gives fans old and new something to feast on. The way they seamlessly combine old wrestling promos and backstage footage with more personal moments is something to applaud. I really like the editing and the visual style of this whole series. I think it was really interesting to watch because of how they formulated the series. The interviews in the series is also really entertaining to watch because of who they get. So they get some of the wrestlers, you'll know some of them if you're a fan of wrestling, some executives, some journalists, all of that kind of combined with some insight. You hear from people who have been through ups and downs with Mr. McMahon, and their stories help paint a fuller picture of the man behind the bombastic character we see on TV, well, we've seen on TV for decades. There's a real sense of reverence, but also hesitation when it comes to discussing some of the darker aspects of McMahon's legacy, and you can feel the tension in every episode. The tension is one of those things where you're left asking, is McMahon a genius or a villain? The show doesn't shy away from his manipulation of storylines, his power plays, and his controversial decisions often left wrestlers in precarious situations, both financially and physically. But it also highlights his ability to transform wrestling into a global spectacle, something nobody else could have pulled off, and nobody did until him. The series presents both sides of that. For me, this was one of the best parts of the series. You're not being spoon-fed, you're left to make your own conclusions. So let's talk about the not-so-great stuff. Let's be honest here, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, is it? As with many documentaries about larger-than-life figures, there's a tendency to gloss over certain parts. Bits that really matter are sometimes left vague. Take, for example, the scandals that have rocked Mr. McMahon's career, from the steroid trials to allegations of misconduct. While they are mentioned, it feels like they only scratch the surface of this whole story. You don't get a deep dive into the most controversial moments of McMahon's life, and that's a bit of a letdown. For those hoping to see a non-holds-barred exploration of Vince's darker moments, you might feel a little bit disappointed. Another thing, while the docuseries does focus a lot on Vince as the mastermind of WWE, I wish they explored more of the human side. What drives a man like Vince McMahon? Sure, we see the business-savvy man, the ruthless ambition, but we don't see much of his personal life beyond the surface-level stuff. Everything feels orchestrated. His family, especially with the involvement of Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, is an important part of their legacy, and it feels like they are kind of sideline characters, sidelined too much in this documentary. There are moments when you even have the documentary asking this question, who is Vince McMahon? And by the end of this series, I don't feel like I know. I still feel like I've just gotten the face. But it's interesting that even he said in this documentary that he doesn't know who he is still. He sort of has taken a part of the persona that he's been for so many years, and the thing that his father created him to be. We get little insights like that. That certainly gives us more insight to probably what we had before. I'm not a huge fan of wrestling. I have watched some WWE, and occasionally I will sit around with friends and watch a match. But I had a lot of fun with this. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Whether you're a die-hard wrestling fan, someone who grew up watching the Attitude Era, or even just curious about the larger-than-life figures in pop culture, then I think there's something here for you. McMahon is a fascinating subject, and the series does a solid job of balancing the grandeur of the WWE with personal and professional complexities of the man behind it. But, and there's always a but, it could have been better. The show leaves you wanting more, especially when it comes to the controversial aspects of McMahon's life. I was hoping for a more detailed look into the skeletons in Vince's closet, but maybe Netflix decided to play it safe They even have this message at the beginning of each episode, especially when they're talking about the allegations, because at the time of filming it, new allegations have come to light. For me, this is a must-watch for any wrestling fan. But if you're expecting a raw, unfiltered look into McMahon's darkest moments, you might not get what you wanted from this. Overall, it's entertaining, it's engaging, it's worth the watch, but it's not without its flaws. Is it the best documentary I've seen? No. But it was well put together, it was edited well, and I liked what we got. It was an unfiltered look at some of the behind the scenes that you don't normally get. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think about this? Have you watched it? Let me know your thoughts below. But as always, remember, live long on Tuesday.